This is Talking Ears. I'm Frank Wardinger, music audiologist in Philadelphia.
I'm Juan Vasquez, music audiologist in Chicago.
And while we're working hard on bringing you another one of those Talking Ears episodes with a guest and their music and their story, we didn't want to delay in getting this important information out about this topic, the Directory of Music Audiology Providers, or DMAP. So, Juan, could you tell us kind of when this started and how this came about?
This came about from an idea that's been kind of in our heads about a year or so or more, and I think is finally starting to manifest. Mm-hmm. This resource provides information on audiologists who are committed and passionate about protecting the ears of musicians.
It's a small group right now. It's about 12 audiologists across the country, most of which are full-time music audiologists, or at least most-time music audiologists, and all of which right now have mobile services. So one reason we split this up this way is as a resource, as you said, for touring musicians who are traveling around, or people who live in one of these mostly larger cities throughout the country.
It can also be a valuable resource for other practicing audiologists. They can refer to specialists who see musicians.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because people who are currently having musicians come into their clinic, if you feel like there's any kind of additional services that this person is asking for or terminology that is not necessarily familiar to you, you can check out the DMAP, the Directory of Music Audiology Providers, and find somebody who's close by. Or all of us are very used to working virtually with telehealth and with virtual consultations. So you can reach out to any of us and connect with you about your specific case.
It can kind of be seen as just a supplement.
Yeah.
Just informing folks that there are specialists out there in the event that we need a little further assessment with this specialty.
I think that's a perfect way of saying it. And anybody who listens to this show has heard Juan and I yap about our own practices, and you've heard from a bunch of other providers who are actually on the directory as well, such as Heather Maliak, Corey Portnoff, Caleb Cronin, Shannon Switzer, Brenda Fitzgerald, Laura Sinnott, who are on the directory. I'd like to introduce one other voice that we have not had on the show yet, but we'll certainly devote a full episode to him in the future. But this is Jason Baker in Nashville. And we did a short interview with Jason back at NHCA. We did a short interview with Jason between sessions at the conference center in February, and we'd like to bring it to you now. We talk in this brief interview about why he has a mobile practice, his work with Music Cares, and of course, all of his favorite sounds. And for bonus points, if you want to guess how many favorite sounds he does list, it's more than one. So we'll give you extra bonus points if you get it correct.
I'm Dr. Baker. I am in Nashville, and my practice is City Audiology. I've been in Nashville for 6 years now, and my mobile practice has been going on for about 3 years.
What made you want to do a mobile practice versus a traditional space where you have an office for folks to come into?
Part of it was desire to jump in immediately and start my own practice because of a low overhead cost. It was a lot easier to envision what that could look like. On a personal level, going to senior communities, I was actually looking for services for my mother who had Alzheimer's, and so many of these places asked me to provide services at the communities, and I was like, I can't do this. I have a full-time job at an ENT hospital. I have a newborn daughter, taking care of my mom. But after the year kind of moved forward, I was able to kind of have an aha moment and just be like, let's dive into this and go mobile. Being fully mobile, historically when a musician came into a clinic, university setting, or ENT, they would schedule, reschedule, cancel.
Right.
And so the musician's schedule is so variable and in flux, especially in Nashville. I have a lot of musicians who are only in town for a few hours. They're getting bus calls and they're only available for certain times of the day. So being able to be mobile and go directly to them eliminates so many barriers.
I found that
personally as well, the accessibility there, especially for touring folks. If you said, great, you're in town for 2 days, come to my office in the suburbs, they say, I don't have a car, right? I'm here. I'm at other people's whims. Can you come to my bus or can you come to the venue?
Yeah, I actually did a bus meeting recently because of the recent ice storms in Nashville. There was a crew that was supposed to be doing a tour and they got snowed in or iced in. And this guy called me and he was like, hey, I need services. I was like, I don't know if I can do it. Like, I'm snowed in. My kids are at home. And he told me where he was at. And he was at a random church parking lot 5 minutes from where I was at. And I went up to his bus and did the services. I can make anything work because I'm mobile.
I love that. And the lower overhead, it really does make it so that your startup costs are less, but also can you speak to how that changes your fees to the musicians? How are you making that more accessible from a literal perspective?
Yeah, from a business point of view, when you look at a lot of practices, I can lower my costs for devices when we're talking about hearing aids or in-ear monitors or plugs, but also the service side of it too. Just everything as a whole can be lowered because I don't have to pay for rent. There's just a lot of costs that I don't have to worry about.
I think that's a huge advantage, in general, but particularly for working with musicians because we're working to limit barriers, just kind of really increasing access for services, particularly for a population that has been historically underserved. And so, and that's kind of something that we've been speaking about here at this conference, NHCA 2026. Is there anything that stood out this year at the conference that you can't wait to incorporate on Monday when you go back?
Yeah, I'm really big on education, and I think a big reminder at this conference is like, how do we prevent hearing loss? And that's a big thing to talk about with musicians. And so one of my goals for 2026 is to get into more areas to educate people. One of the students that was presenting her poster, she's a high school student having the struggles of educating her band. I think as audiologists and individuals that are in this area, we need to do better about going into those areas and actually educating people. We just need to figure out how to do it.
You also mentioned collaborating with some local groups such as the union. Mm-hmm. How are you making these connections and what are you seeing as far as a response when you do make these connections?
Yeah, so I think, for anyone that is looking at going into music audiology or just starting their own practice, a lot of it is just shameless soliciting almost without like bothering people too. There's a sensitivity there, but just making connections wherever you can. You have to be willing to actually put yourself out there. And, I could probably make a list of 1,000 emails over the last couple of years that I've reached out to people or phone calls. Maybe I get responses from like 10 to 20% of those. Yeah. And so it's all about networking and, meeting the right people, and the timing just kind of works out. But yeah, with some of these local partners, I just find a way in either through a musician that I've worked with and offer them and show them the value that it brings to their members.
I love that. And the word of mouth there, the getting a member of a musicians union or of a venue who's seen what you do and understands that this is different from another provider who may be offering something similar, but you are bringing your perspective to it, allows you that kind of in. And then what I've also noticed is that a lot of the musicians within those groups may not have accessed this service if it wasn't in some way subsidized or facilitated by their employer or group or union or administration. So I'm really happy that you're kind of leading the charge there in Nashville.
Yeah. And, it's all about accessibility and affordability too for a lot of musicians that are trying to do that as their full-time occupation, especially in Nashville. Like the term starving artists or struggling artists, whatever you want to call it. It's, we want to be able to offer some affordable options and not sacrifice services just because they may not be able to pay X amount that someone else could pay.
That's just so cool, that you're thinking in that way, because I feel that that's not happening enough. And it's fantastic that you're in Nashville, Music City, where you're able to provide the services, and it's not just throwing earplugs at everybody. You're actually doing the doctoral aspect and treating and caring for these musicians' hearing, so that way we can still have music. I think ultimately that's at the heart of it. We want there to still be the music.
Yeah, and that's a good point. It's not just about the in-ear monitor or the earplug, which is usually for a lot of musicians, that's like the stepping stone for why they see an audiologist, or the other side of it when there's an issue. They're like, hey, I had a blast exposure, I have ringing in the ears, I think my ears built up with wax. Those are all steps to get them in your door, or me into their door, and actually establish like rapport with them. And then they become long-term patients. And, musicians more than anyone, I feel like, love having like a guy, like they're like, oh, I have like this specialist.
I know a guy. Yeah.
And they love that. They love referring to their guy or girl. And so it's great. I mean, they're just fun to work with, and, down to earth people.
And music, especially in Nashville, it's not part of the fabric of the city. It's the fabric of the city. It's what makes Nashville Nashville. And if all the musicians were unable to do that, you wouldn't have the same Nashville. So you're really doing, you should probably get the city to sponsor you at a certain point.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was kind of surprised when I came up with the name for my business, Music City Audiology.
It's great, and I'm kind of mad at you.
I know. Yeah, you can't have Music City Audiology outside of Nashville. I guess you could if I expand this, but yeah, there's so many businesses that are Music City, but it's really obvious for musicians. They're like, oh, like this guy must be focused on musicians if it's in the name.
It was a good move.
Yeah.
And
it started with my logo, having a little music note in the ear.
Sure. So speaking of that, a musician in Nashville, how do they reach you?
Yeah, so the easiest way is to go to my website and fill out a contact page. Just because of how I operate with a mobile model, I get your address and all of your information, and then I can reach back out. All of that buzzes directly to my phone, so I get it right away, whether it's 12 a.m. or 8 in the morning. I usually respond pretty quick, and because I'm mobile, I have a lot of flexibility with my schedule. I'll just shoot you a text right away and say, hey, when do you want to meet?
And then for musicians who like the way that you're approaching this and want to connect with you who are not in Nashville, what is their way of getting in touch with you and having an appointment?
Yeah, I direct them towards Tune. If they need like an initial kind of consult just to talk about their ears, that's a great platform that Music Hears covers some services. Or, some people are like, oh, I'll take a trip to Nashville. Like, why not? It's like a fun tourist town. So they'll actually make appointments along with their vacations, and I can coordinate that way.
Is there anything else that you wish that we asked you about? We have a couple minutes left.
No, this is great just to talk with some fellow music audiologists, and it's such a small group, and I think there's a desire for people that have been in the profession for a long time that want to jump into music audiology, or students that want to do this as well. And I think just there's opportunities to do it yourself. You just need to gather the resources and gather all the minds together to help each other out.
I love that.
Something that we usually always ask, what's your favorite sound?
Yeah, I think my personal one, I thought about it, is like my kids giggling and laughing is probably my go-to. Another non-kid related one would probably be like grilling like on my Blackstone. That's probably a very satisfying sound. That's some like ASMR stuff. Oh, actually, fine. I'll add a third one. Recently with the ice storms, I was doing a lot of like icicle ASMR. So anytime I saw icicles everywhere, I would take videos and like knock all the icicles down, and that created some really cool sounds.
Right now, my favorite sound is probably that AC unit that keeps coming on in this room that we're in, and we have to get back to the session. So
yes.
I'm just really happy that you took the time to do this.
Yeah, thank you, Juan and Frank.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's Jason Baker, music audiologist out in Nashville. For anyone passing through or any local musicians in the Nashville area, He's a wonderful resource, a wonderful human to be seen for your ears, someone who deeply cares about supporting you and ensuring that you have your hearing for a lifetime.
Absolutely. And one more time, Juan, how would somebody find the contact information for Jason? Let's say on some kind of a national directory that's online.
For Jason Baker's contact information and for any other music audiologist in the country, you can visit the Directory of Music Audiology Providers at musicaud.org.
Thanks for taking the time today, Juan, to talk to me about this. And stay tuned soon. We have a couple more interviews with full music and guests and everything coming out soon, so we can't wait to bring those to you.
Thanks for listening.
Talking Ears is a production of Earmark Hearing Conservation and Philadelphia Music Audiology. The show is proudly made by us humans, not AI, and this episode was produced by Juan Vasquez and Mary Kim, and the theme music is always by Scott Hallam. Talking Ears is a labor of love. It celebrates sound in all of its forms. Loudness can be fun, loudness can be interesting, and people with hearing loss should have exactly the same access to music making as everyone else. If you listened this far, I assume that you didn't mind what you heard. So I encourage you to share this with other folks who might be able to use this information. Please also continue sending in your questions for topics, your suggestions for guests. And if you're so inclined, you can send us some coffee money so we can keep awake and keep making this show. You're the reason we make this podcast. We love hearing from you. So as always, thanks for listening.